Olá pessoal, estamos aqui para mais uma live na Academia Internacional de Cinema. Vou apresentar para vocês a Isabella Melo, que é produtora executiva do Phenomena Festival, que vai conduzir esse papo nosso aqui. Estamos ao vivo com o Zach, tentando entrar aqui na nossa live ao vivo. O Zach está onde, Isabella?
Zach, os dois diretores que estão aqui na live hoje são do Canadá.
Uhum.
O Zach é o diretor do filme Homewrecker e a gente tem o Alex, diretor do Happy Face.
Tá, legal. Então, vou passar a palavra para a Isabella, que vai começar esse papo aqui com a gente sobre cinema de terror. E sejam bem-vindos todos ao canal, à live. Boa noite para todo mundo.
Então, o Phenomena Festival começa a semana que vem, no dia 28, aqui em São Paulo. Depois a gente se muda para Paraty por alguns dias, do dia 6 a 8, e depois a gente volta aqui para São Paulo até o dia 13. Então a gente espera também ver todo mundo por lá. E a gente trouxe aqui esses dois diretores canadenses para bater um papo, porque o engraçado, né, do cinema de gênero é que ele é muito low budget, ele tem uma certa reclusão assim do mercado, a galera tem um certo preconceito, né, pra dar dinheiro pra esses filmes, pagar por esses filmes. Então essa é a galera mais legal pra gente falar sobre cinema low budget.
E vou já avisar vocês aqui no canal que parte da nossa live vai ser em português e parte vai ser em inglês pra gente conseguir se comunicar com os nossos convidados. So now we'll switch to English, so our guys in Canada can hear us and can understand us. And so, Isabella.
Alex, are you on?
Totally on.
We're live now.
Cool. Hi.
So, do you want to tell everybody a little bit about your movie? So, just a bit so
yes.
we can get started.
Just, you mean a little synopsis of the movie?
Yeah, tell us, give us a little taste of it.
For sure. Well, Happy Face is actually a strange film because it's not a horror film, and yet it creates the same emotions as a horror film. Because it's the story of a 19-year-old boy who can't deal with his mother's sickness and how she loses her beauty, and he feels superficial, and to cure himself of that, he puts bandages on his face, and he secretly attends a therapy workshop for people that are disfigured, that have had cancer, burn, accidents. And so, and he gets discovered, of course. So to do this movie, which is a work of fiction, we worked with real people that were really disfigured, and we modified our story to fit their life story so that they could act in it and be credible, be truthful. So it blurs the line with fiction and documentary at times, and it confronts the audience to what we fear the most, losing our beauty.
Okay. It's actually a wonderful movie. I watched it today, and congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I think the first thing that I want to ask you is about the crowdfunding. You did a crowdfunding for the movie. Is that the whole funding for the film?
No. I mean, luckily we have some state funding, government funding in Canada for films. I couldn't get all the funding that I wanted. I only got the federal government, not the provincial government. And I did a little bit of crowdfunding to help get extra money for marketing. Because, distribution is really tough sometimes, and the distributors might not do much with the film. And so I needed a bit of help to do social media marketing. So the crowdfunding was a way to start gathering a little bit of an audience and a little bit of a group that would follow the film and get the posters and talk about it.
And you have a pretty big statement in the crowdfunding, right? That you want to make movies that Hollywood won't let you, something like that.
Oh, yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, in Canada, we're kind of far away from Hollywood, but it's true that when I tried to make Happy Face, we had trouble getting funding because people were telling us, well, you're not disfigured, Alex. How can you make a movie about people that are disfigured? You are appropriating their pain. You're using these people, and they were uncomfortable with the subject matter. So we got turned down a couple times. So I wanted to say, screw you. Let's be able to market it ourselves. So that was a way to get directly to the public.
I think this is the thing that happens with a lot of genre films. People don't really believe in it, and then they don't fund it. They don't really buy the idea.
Yeah, true. It's true. I mean, we were lucky enough in Canada to have some money, but I mean, you know how it is. You think you make a film with X amount of money, and then you get X divided by 2 or 3. So naturally, it's tough. But and you know, with the, you know, we've got this whole political correctness thing in Canada. That's great, but at the same time now. They're kind of going, they're really sensitive about it. So it was actually a bunch of white guys that were telling me, no, you can't make a movie about this disfigured people because you're not disfigured. And I'm like, well, they're writing the story really because it's their story. So it was kind of tricky, but I mean, I'm just glad we did it, you know, and we never got any backlash or any trouble with the story, people telling us that it was exploiting those people or anything like that.
I think it's done in a very respectful and beautiful way as well.
Thanks.
And we have also with us Zach Gayne, also Hello. In Canada. Hello, Zach. Welcome to our live here. So, if you can tell us a little bit about your movie.
Sure. I made a film called Homewrecker. By the way, thank you so much for having me. Great to be here. So a year ago I made a movie called Homewrecker. We shot it in June of 2018, and we basically self-financed the entire thing. We didn't even bother with crowdfunding, although it certainly would have made things more comfortable for us. And as Alex mentioned, it would have helped us with a built-in audience. Thank God we've been able to find one without that help, but I certainly understand why Kickstarter would be useful for that. So anyway, we financed the film piecemeal, basically, and just like a little bit at a time. Precious, my writing partner and producing partner, we matched each other on the first $10,000, and that was like $5 each, and that was basically enough to get our foot in the door and just to get enough momentum to put this thing in motion and sort of see what happened next, you know. So that's the making of it anyway. Did you want to hear about the film itself, or?
Just tell us a little bit about what the film is about, so everyone in the live can be interested and come watch your movie when the festival starts.
Yeah, sure. So I suppose we made a suspense, a comedy horror, a film that's not that easy to put in any one of those genre camps, really, but I guess comedy and horror are the two most distinct genres in the film. Anyway, it's about an older woman who befriends a younger woman after bumping into her at a variety of classes throughout Toronto. I'm also Canadian. I live in Toronto. And and she invites her back to her house for with the excuse to decorate her house. And then once she's in the older woman, once Michelle is in Lyndon's home, she finds that there's more nefarious intentions behind the invitation, and she finds herself basically the willing accomplice in her own kidnapping, to use somebody else's description. I don't know if that's enough of a hook, but without spoiling too much, that's the first act.
Yeah, there's something that we always tell our students here at AIC, our school, that in movies sometimes you show things in the screen, and sometimes you make something, you do a strategy to make people imagine. And it seems to me that in horror movies this is almost a golden rule, because it's super important to make people imagine. So don't show, make them imagine, because sometimes the horror is inside yourself and not in the screen itself. So when I remember, I think the great horror movies that I saw, I never saw the monster. I imagine it. So
right.
I want to hear what you guys think about that.
Also, just to say where I'm coming from and not giving you all these details about my film, I'm very scared of spoilers when it comes to my own films, when it comes to other people's films. I do not watch trailers. I like to know as little as possible going into a film, and I sort of naively expect that or attempt that from my audience as well. Yeah, so I like mystery in film. I like not really having any pretext or really knowing what you're up for beyond maybe a sentence that's enough to hook you. And yeah, the more you give credit to your audience and let them bring their own experience to the film, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
Alex, you want to comment?
Yeah, but the less you see, the better with horror. It's funny. I don't make horror films, and yet my films always play at horror festivals because I think it's. I'm usually attracted to the darkness in the human mind and the taboo sides of our personality, like the more animalistic instincts in people, and I like when that stuff comes out. So it's a lot of it is with imagination. So I really love. Well, what you said is true. I mean, I really love naturally horror films where you don't really see everything and you imagine the worst. And I completely agree with that because usually when I deal with stories, it's about the worst parts of people's minds. You know, their worst traits or flaws, whether it be being petty, being selfish, being evil in like everyday life. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I agree,
Yeah,
I guess.
totally, yeah.
Yeah, this is the funny thing actually. I just realized that both of your films actually they talk about a horrible people. They talk about the horror in people, especially in Home Record, that woman that kidnaps the younger girl, and then the horror is all about her. That she's the monster. It's not exactly a monster. It's a person. It could be next door. It could be him.
Yeah.
It could be me. It could be anyone.
Sorry, there's a huge car accident out the window just happened. Sorry to interrupt.
It's okay.
That sounded really brutal. Yes, no, absolutely true. It's very character driven. Our film.
So, and in Happy Face as well. The people who they have this stigmas about disfigured people and they don't want to let them be seen in bars or on the street, and they kind of have to hide and be disguised.
Yeah, I mean, it's in this case when I screen the film, a lot of times people come after the screening and they talk to me and they're like, oh, you know, my sister was sick or my cousin and I never visited them in the hospital and I feel like shit. I behaved horribly. So it usually brings back like this guilt, this thing that people did that they hate themselves for, and I guess one thing that they would consider the worst trait of their personality, like they beat themselves up over the head with what they did or did not do. So I was trying to go for that, even though it's not real horror, like nobody injures anybody or something like that, but it's more like the stuff in real life that 20 years later we still hate ourselves for it and we have regret till the day we die. So to me that's a form of, I mean, it's as powerful as immediate horror or jump scares because it basically kills your existence or your soul, you know. So I guess that's what I was going for because that's where I came from with doing the movie with my own personal story.
Alex, out of curiosity, did you watch like Todd Browning's Freaks when you were thinking about this film? Do critics want to talk to you about that movie?
A little bit. I mean, I watched it years ago, and my film teacher in Toronto, Greg Klimke at the Film Center, told me, watch Freaks. He encouraged me to do Happy Face when it got turned down as a short film in film school by all the teachers. And Greg Klim and this production teacher, Greg Klimke, used to be obese. So he was really obese. And my film was about obese people, disfigured people, and he's the only one. He walked out of the room and he went, you gotta do this fucking film. You gotta do this fucking film. And he was like the kind of like disfigured person, if you will. And it stuck with me. And he said, watch Freaks. And I watched Freaks, and I almost wanted to put it in the movie at one point because it's in the public domain. I wanted people in my story to watch it on the video, but in the end, it ended up being cut
Cool.
because Freaks is a great movie. And it was there in the back of my mind, but then the movie was so autobiographical that it went into a different story when I got my actors and their stories.
Of course.
Yeah. I missed your movie, however, Zach. You were playing at the Fantastic Fest, and I'm sorry I missed it because
that's all right.
Everybody in my hotel was talking about your movie.
Oh, that's great. And I saw your film right before you left into a van to the airport.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I'll try to catch yours. So
I was
so
in the screen. When the woman, when the man was telling you about her sister, I was at that Q&A.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I meant. Cool.
Yeah.
So you both watched each other's movies. So you can.
I haven't yet for Zach. So
right.
I'll have to. So I'll track you down and I'll give you some feedback when I see it, Zach.
Oh yes, please. I'll send you a link.
Oh, cool. All right.
So what about the independent, low-budget parts of the movie? Which do you guys think is the hardest part to do? For me, I also make independent films. I am a producer as well. For me, the equipment part and post-production is the worst. What do you guys think?
That's a challenge, all right. I mean, so as I mentioned before, this is Homewrecker was basically self-financed until post-production, and we started getting a little more help. But now that I'm working on my next film, and I'm very, literally like right now thinking about how I'm going to sort of raise the bar for my follow-up film to make it a far more expensive endeavor in the first place. I'm going to ask Alex what he thinks because I need all the advice I can get. All I will say is that we were able to make Homewrecker by favors. It's about kind of it's about reaching out to the people in my community. And so for my DP is somebody who is a professional grip every day in Toronto, just hustling lights and blah, 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 knows everything about lighting and just needed a chance to DP his first film. And he's a friend of mine, so I was very happy to offer him that opportunity. But in doing so, I ended up accessing all the goodwill that he had accomplished by being a grip. And then we ended up getting, tens of thousands of dollars worth of gear, essentially for an executive producer credit. So if you can find somebody who, with a gear warehouse or something like that, who might be interested in back end or a credit that they hadn't otherwise sought before, there's just outside of the box ways of thinking to get you these bare essentials.
Yeah, what about you, Zach?
Yeah.
Do you also exchange favors? I do a lot. I mean, my friends hate me. They're not friends of mine anymore. I think we lost him. Alex?
I mean, our budget was way higher probably than Zach. So Zach, you really did it like shoestring, homemade. We still had telefilm funding. So we had to go with the unions. So the minute we go with the unions, then for me, the hardest part is paying the actors, paying people, because luckily I've been working in commercials, so we hire a lot of people, so it's easy for me to ask for favors, and I have a lot of friends now in film, and I produce my film, which is a mistake too, to direct and produce, but you have to sometimes. But the hardest part, I think, is feeding, paying people, getting the money for gas and the trucks. Basically, we can't exploit people like for hours and hours and days on it. So that's what ends up being the highest costs. Usually I find. Or if you want talented actors, there's a good chance they're in the union, in which case then you got to deal with the unions. Unless you find talented actors that are not in the union, which is great. So for me, that's what I find hard. And but like examples like Zach's movies are what I'm thinking about for my next ones, in case I don't want to wait 10 years to do a film like I did the last time. Right. Wait for money and get turned down every time. So now I'm going to be like, screw this. The next one, if it takes place in the hospital room, so it's easier to make on a low budget. And I'll do the Zach route. So I may call you for the for the stuff, for the tricks.
I mean, but Happy Face has been a success, and it's played at wonderful festivals. So shouldn't that make things easier for people like us?
I don't know, man.
Not so much.
My first film won at TIFF at Toronto. It won at Slam Dance, The Wild Hunt. and it got me some pitches, it got me some interest, but it didn't necessarily make it easier. I mean, it does, but I feel like it's kind of like, maybe it'll make it easier, but it's luck. Like, you can't expect it to be easier for the next one, I find. You don't count on it, then you won't be disappointed. That's my advice.
Well, what's so liberating, obviously, about doing it incredibly micro-budget DIY, what you're, appeal to, what looks good about my film to you is the fact that we're free and there's nobody breathing down our neck, and it's just us and the actors, and we have the freedom to work at our pace and blah, blah, blah. So there are definitely some pros to that. And now I'm in the situation where, I need to use union actors, and I need to come up with the union minimum for each. And my next film is going to be an ensemble. So I don't know.
Exactly.
Right.
That's tough. Yeah, the ensemble thing is what raises the budget. So
yeah. That's a good luck.
I'll give you the tips on negotiating ACTRA, but I'm sure you'll do it yourself.
Yeah. But also on low budget, no budget movies, there's this distribution part, right? That it also consumes a lot of money. And if you make a movie on your own, it's a pretty small movie. I don't know. If I make a movie in my house, pretty small movie, it's gonna be way harder to take it everywhere else in the world for people to watch it. So I think my question is mostly for Zach. How do you think your movie is spreading? Do you think making it a small movie makes it harder to spread the movie?
Well, not to like talk about Tarantino, but Reservoir Dogs is kind of a very inspiring film for independent filmmakers because it demonstrates what can be accomplished in a single location and just some good old-fashioned creative thinking and how to make excitement out of very little. So with me, I had even less actors than a gang of Reservoir Dogs. I had 2 people, and for me the challenge was how am I going to keep 2 people talking interesting in one location for up to 80 minutes ideally. We came in just a little shy of that, and so that mostly had to do with just with my storyboarding and my shot list and trying to come at things with a very inventive mind frame where the audience could come away with something that felt original. And I guess my commodity, ideally, hopefully, is originality over, say, you can see the money dripping off the screen. No, you can see a good script coming from the screen, hopefully, and you can see excellent acting. And movies like Sean Baker's Tangerine, another Sundance success story that shot on iPhone. We all know that movie's inspiring. Similarly, because movies like that remind us that what's really essential is good story, interesting people in front of your camera, and that's really all you need. And the rest helps immensely.
And the aesthetic as well. I mean, on Alex's film, the aesthetic is really present. It's really different. It's a strange movie, right? And I think this is a worldwide tendency to make aesthetic your first goal to aim. I want to have this aesthetic movie. Is that your plan, Alex? To make aesthetic?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question. You mean to go for the aesthetic?
Yeah, first.
Actually, oddly enough, the aesthetic in this one, aside from the fact that it was set in the early 90s, I really let my director of photography and the stylist for the costume, because he had access to all kinds of clothes from old boxes. I kind of let them do their thing, and all my energy went into directing the disfigured people in the film because they were not actors. I didn't even have time. I was really stressed out for the film because it was a personal story. And I was producing it, co-writing it, directing it, and my first film had been a financial disaster for me. So I didn't even have time or the energy to do a shot list or a storyboard. So I went to shoot a feature movie with no shot list, no storyboard, which is really stupid. I do not recommend this. And really, I was all my energy was about getting the right tone, about the performances and the acting of the disfigured non-actors. And the aesthetic happened because I was only trying to find places that looked like the 90s. So it happened by eliminating stuff. I was just it was actually liberating. I was like, okay, well, I can't shoot this, I can't shoot this, I can't shoot this. So we have to find old locations. And my DP, Claudine Sauvé, who's an old-time friend, she really likes pink and pastels. So she just went with that. And I guess I was too busy or preoccupied with the acting and the producing of it to really direct for aesthetic. You know, I guess I was well surrounded. I really let the collaborators, the artistic director, the stylist, and the DP do their thing. These three ladies were amazing, and I was like, yeah, whatever, do it. You know, and because I'm glad you like the aesthetic though. So that's good. I guess they succeeded.
Yeah, I mean, every film is a different animal. Every movie is its own situation, and I think every movie kind of needs to be approached differently in many ways. I don't see myself entering my next film with the same mind frame as this one exactly anyway. I think there's going to be a lot more room for spontaneity and ideally controlled chaos, but potentially just chaos.
So, yeah,
What I really love about movies is, yeah.
No, go
That's
ahead.
what I love is that chaos thing. It's that,
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard because a film is not like playing an instrument of music where you can improvise and like jazz, you know, and it's too expensive, it takes too much time. But where I really get the goosebumps, where I really get the thrills, like a little kid playing with my toys, is when you start doing something and my camera operator, my DP was like, oh, it's really nice outside. Look at this light. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, screw this. Let's go outside. Or it happened in the film at the end when they're all confronting each other outside. It was raining, and we decided to redo the entire scene in the rain, which was hell. We had to dry everybody, and part of my crew decided to quit because they were newcomers, and it was a big mess. It was complete chaos, but the scene took place in the rain, and it was really beautiful. And yeah, I mean, it probably added 10 years to my life in terms of stress, but I really had fun doing it because you kind of create on the spot, like if you're painting something. And film is not an immediate art, and yet that's what I liked about it, is the immediacy. So screw, basically.
Oh, it's the magic of it, right? When
Yeah.
a moment happens.
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm gonna have to go because they're about to screen in Toronto at the Royal Cinema de Film. So
Blood in the Snow.
Yeah, Blood in the Snow, man.
Say hello to everybody for me.
I will. I'm gonna have to go because I have to introduce it. Is that okay? Do we have enough? Do we have enough stuff?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we do.
Thank you very much for participating.
Thank you,
Good to
guys.
see you, Alex.
Hey, thank you, Zach. Well, I hope to meet you in person for real. And
I'll see you
your film
soon.
Take
All
care,
right.
man. Bye bye.
Thank you so much, Alex.
Bye.
So, Zach,
Hello.
you guys both mentioned crews. On a low-budget films, the crews are usually very small. So how's that? Did you do a lot of functions? Like Alex said, he was producer, director, and lots of other things. How
Yes.
was it with you?
Very, very much so. I feel like the most number of people at any one time on set was 10, and the fewest on any given scene were like 4 or 5.
With the actresses?
So we all wore many different hats. Precious and I wore the most number of hats, being producer, co-writer, leading actor, and then in Precious's case, she was also. I suppose she was the art director. She took the lead on art director, but Alex contributed a lot in that regard as well. She did the paintings that you see in the house, some of the horsey paintings, and but yeah, we didn't. I mentioned that our DP was this former grip, and we did not even bring a PA on board. So there was a lot of times when I should have been maybe preparing for the scene we were about to shoot. Talking with the actors. I was hustling sandbags and helping the DP get. There was too much to think about, and I know that Precious and I both, when we make films in the future, are not going to be our own prop master, because we found ourselves getting really bogged down by the small stuff when we should have been thinking about much bigger things, and yet we're like driving to the only place in Toronto where we can find a small hammer keychained, 2 days before we go for picture.
So we're hearing just now that there's a few of questions popping out.
Cool.
Should we make them?
Do you believe the streaming will help to distribute independent movies?
Did you hear anything? The question was, do you believe the streaming will help to distribute independent movies?
I mean, certainly. I'm not positive, how distribution will shake out exactly. It will happen. In a perfect world, everybody's going to see the film in a theater with an audience because I think it's a fun movie that plays well to an audience. But I know the reality of that, and that will largely only happen at film festivals. So I'm just going to soak it in. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's how this film will get seen, streaming, whether I like it or not. I do want it to be seen, and I know that streaming will allow that to happen, so who am I to complain? But call me old-fashioned. I wish everyone could see it on the big screen, as does every director.
Yeah, but
I think.
As you said, the festivals do help in that question, that matter. So another one.
How does the distribution and filmmaking market works in Canada?
So how the distribution market works in Canada? I don't know if you know how to answer that.
No, I mean, I'm just figuring it out for the first time. I'm navigating it. I've been making films for a long time, but this is the first time I think that I have a nice polished, or certainly the most polished of anything I've done to date, the most polished product that I have that people will want to see. So we've just dealt with America to give you a little bit of a sneak preview, and I'm looking forward to finding out how Canada works. Honestly, yeah, that's not an answer to your question. Suffice it to say that a lot of filmmaking is just doing it and figuring it out one step at a time, and who knew I would need to know that information for myself? But if I don't learn it, who, I have to figure this out, and so I will.
So yeah, I think we are running out of time. But if there's anything that you want to say about DIY independent movies?
Gosh, in general, I don't know if I have a message to anyone who was thinking about making a movie, feels like they probably can't, feels like it's way too much work, feels like it has to be perfect. Yes, absolutely, it is way too much work, and it will kill you possibly, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, and more importantly, that doesn't mean you can't do it. I think people feeling like they need too many things bogs them down, and you get a lot of failure to launches, but I think it really just starts with the willingness to jump off the plank and believe in yourself. Believe in yourself enough to get to the next thing and let the sort of momentum take you the rest of the way. I hope that wasn't a tangent. I hope that's semi-useful.
Of course it is. I think one of the great messages as well is to love your movie and believe in it, because if you don't, it just won't get made.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta believe in yourself.
Thank you so much for participating, Zach.
Thank you.
Of course, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Quero agradecer aí também as pessoas que estavam assistindo a gente, pedir desculpa aqui pela confusão que foi das janelas aí, mas a gente procurou recortar os nossos convidados, né, para conseguir caber todo mundo junto na janela, só que eles entraram um pouco depois e aí ficou um pouco bagunçado, mas é como a gente normalmente faz as nossas lives aqui, vai fazendo e vai vendo o que acontece.
Igual filmes independentes. Como
igual filme independente.
Eu vou te falar, vai fazendo o que acontece.
Vai fazendo e vê o que acontece. Então, mas acho que deu para todo mundo pegar o conteúdo. Agradeço aqui o Jorge que veio me ajudar aqui na mesa de corte e conseguiu recortar do melhor jeito possível com a loucura que foi, né, de convidado entrando e saindo porque a conexão caía e tal, e aí isso envolve um pouco a maneira como funciona o nosso recorte aqui. Então, obrigado a todo mundo pela participação, muito obrigado a vocês, obrigado ao Zach, já foi. E é isso aí, gente.
Acho que os que puderem, venham no festival, acompanhem a gente pelo Instagram.
Qual que é? Dá o
O Instagram é @cinefenômena, a gente também tá no Facebook Cinefenômena, o site www.fenomenafest.com. Lá vai ter a programação, já tem algumas coisas no Instagram, no Facebook, tem evento. Venham assistir os filmes, a grande maioria deles são filmes independentes, como os filmes dos 2 diretores que a gente viu aqui hoje. Isso acontece muito no cinema de terror, os filmes geralmente são bem independentes, é uma galera muito apaixonada fazendo esses filmes, e são filmes que realmente tem o coração desse pessoal pro filme poder sair, porque senão o pessoal não compra muito essa ideia do filme de terror.
E tem um grande aprendizado de ir em festival, né? Acho que não só para quem quer fazer filme necessariamente de terror, mas ver filme de gente que fez com poucas condições, assim, né?
Todos os filmes também são premieres aqui em São Paulo, e geralmente são filmes que nem entram no circuito, né? Então você acaba tendo contato com um tipo de cinema que não é aquele cinema comercialzão, ou aquele cinema de festival muito grande, que também são os filmes que estão em outros festivais grandes, que também tem outro tipo de... A galera já tem mais contato, né? Já tem mais um apelo.
Uhum.
Então, realmente você vê umas joias que você nunca imaginaria estar vendo.
Até porque é uma janela específica, né?
Sim.
Então, acho que isso é muito legal. E tem muito aprendizado, né? Como eu estava colocando aqui, acho que tira-se muito aprendizado do cinema de terror, porque o cinema de terror, ele quase que obrigatoriamente, né? Como eu falei ali, ele tem essa... ele precisa criar essa dinâmica com a imaginação do público, assim, né? Um cinema que te faz imaginar o tempo todo. Então acho que tira-se um grande aprendizado de ver filmes de terror. Mais uma vez, obrigado Isabela.
Imagina.
Obrigado ao pessoal do festival. E aos convidados, o pessoal que está aqui também hoje. Temos convidados no estúdio. É isso aí, valeu gente, obrigado, até.